What is going on, guys? MLB The Show 24. We are talking about MLB The Show 25. Things that we want to see in the game. Things that I hope we see in the game. You know, the game is like, we'll say 5 months away. 4 months, 5 months away. It's November. This game generally comes out in March or April. We're like 4 months, 5 months away from MLB The Show 25, but anyway, there's one thing that's been missing from MLB The Show. I don't know if it's been in any of the older versions, but ever since MLB The Show 20, which is the one that I started getting into, something is real major that's a big part of MLB baseball, and it is player collisions. They just don't have a minute at all. I'm going to show you what happens when players, as you can see, he broke his bat, then the catcher got up. And then watch this here. This is what happens instead of collisions. You have this right here. Now I can understand that in some instances. Now right here, generally, I don't think they would collide into each other in real life. I think he would probably run around him. You know what I mean? They would go around each other. The batter would probably run around the catcher. The catcher wouldn't run around him because he's got to get to that ball, but he would probably go a little bit more on the inside or maybe the outside. He wouldn't be able to make it on the inside because of where he was standing. But when guys are running home or running to bases, they should be able to collide into each other. And not only that, outfielders should be able to collide into each other too. Now, I wouldn't want that to be a frequent thing. Obviously, you don't want that to happen much, but you want it to be a possibility. I've never seen it in any of these games. You know, MLB The Show just doesn't have the collisions, player collisions, and I think they need to add them in there. I think it's time to put that in. I mean, the game is done really well. It's a really good game. It's time to start filling in those gaps of the things that the game is missing, and it's time to start looking into that. This is really the only major thing that the game is missing to me. Like, as far as things that are a really big deal, they're missing probably tiny little knick-knack stuff, but like major stuff that's really definitely something that really should be in it, that's not in it. This is the only major thing that I can think of, but there are other things that we'll get into. Another thing I would like to see in MLB The Show 25 is something that is highly unlikely, okay? It's extremely unlikely. I know I just mentioned the player collisions. Hopefully they add that in. I don't know if they're messing with that, but because, you know they have a really good product. Their game is very good. And I know they have Diamond Dynasty mode, and there's nothing bad about this mode. It's a nice mode. I don't really play it. I tried it a couple years ago, but I want to see another mode in this game. Something that's a little bit crazier than this. Something similar to like the yard that was in Madden or FIFA Volta. Something that's a little bit more unprofessional, I'll say. Because Volta and the yard are not professional based. They're just, you know what I mean? You're playing a different version of the game. You're playing, you know what I mean, 5-on-5, 3-on-3 soccer, or I think the yard was 5 or 8-on-8, something like that. I think it was 5, actually. You know what I mean? Something different, just a different mode. The players were wearing like custom. They were not even all wearing the same clothes. I mean, it was like you could customize your character's attire in Volta or the yard. Especially Volta, you could wear regular clothes. Now, I'm not saying they should do that. I know that I'm almost completely sure they wouldn't mess with something like that. But maybe something like a fun little mode where it's like a different form of baseball, like, I don't know, something with different rules. You know what I mean? Like you have right now in EAFC 25, you have the rush 5-on-5. Maybe something crazy, some fun little fast-paced mode where the rules are a little different. Maybe you have a different amount of people on the pitch. On the field. different amount of batters, less innings, something crazy like that. Maybe even some attire that's a little outside of the lines of what baseball's supposed to be. Like, something a little bit more like Volta or the Yard. And now I don't think a lot of people will agree with that. Like, I don't think there's too many people that would even want that in the game. Maybe I stand alone on that. I don't know. And I know there's a lot of people talking about franchise mode, online franchise mode. I'm not interested in that. Should they add it? Of course they should. It's very popular. A lot of people want it. So I'm going to say they should definitely add it. On a personal level, I don't really want it. I don't care for it. I don't play. I don't have the schedule to participate in stuff like that. You know what I mean? I just don't I don't care for that too much, but I do still think they should add that in the game. And that's pretty much what I want to see. I want to see the player collisions. You know what I mean? I just touched on that. There's not a whole lot that I would ask for in MLB The Show 25. Of course, I want to see some animations kind of redone, or like maybe add a lot more animation, which they're going to do. They do that every year anyway. But that's just the typical stuff. Outside of the typical changes that they would make, those are really the two things I want to see. And I'm going to tell you what I really hope they don't do. And I don't think they're going to do it, but I really want them. I really hope they don't. I really hope they never go in the direction of NBA 2K or Madden, where you add these, I don't even know what to call it, badges or superstar abilities. I do not like that mess. I think you just need player tendencies and attributes. You don't need no superpowers or players charging up and being able to throw farther or stuff like that. None of that. All you need is attributes. If a guy can throw far, give him good throwing attributes. You know what I mean? You don't need all this extra superpower stuff. I don't want nothing to do with that. And I'm not saying Madden and 2K doesn't have fictional superpower stuff, but the scenario of it is not so realistic, because you have to charge up stuff and then all of a sudden he can throw further, or you have situations where guys can't throw an interception in certain times. Like, get out of here. None of that. None of that stuff on here. If you had something like that on here, because your player has, you know what I mean? Your attributes are that. You have players with clutch and stuff like that. I'm going to show you. Let's get into it. Attributes. Let's go into attributes here. Well, let's make him not a pitcher, first of all. Let's make him a left fielder. Like, so I can give you an idea of what I'm talking about. You have this here. You have contact versus right, contact versus left, power versus right, bonding ability. All this stuff, you don't need no badges or superstar ability. These are your badges. You know what I mean? And then the biggest thing is the clutch. The clutch in this is batting clutch works in this for sure. I created several players in this, and it really jumps out at you. I have a guy that has high clutch. He's hit he's hit three. He's hit 2 game-winning home runs and a game-winning RBI. He's done all 3 because I got his clutch really high. Most of my guys, the clutch is like between 30 and 25 because I want it more realistic. I don't want guys, everybody has clutch where it's like you're hitting game-winning homers and every night is, that's a little ridiculous. It might be fun, but you don't want it to be too Arcadian, unrealistic. So I do have one guy that's in the 90s on here, and he is definitely very clutch. Then you have plate discipline. All this stuff right here makes it so that you don't need badges and superstar abilities and whatever they call it. And they don't have it in this, and I'm very glad. They don't have it in EAFC either, even though it's in the Electronic Arts game, and it works really well. Your attributes and tendencies is really all you need. And your players do have like supposed personalities in this. I do want to see a little bit more. I'm gonna tell you what I want to see in MLB The Show 25. I want there to be some type of player based tendency, attitude based. You know what I mean? They have it in some, they have it supposedly, they have it in NBA 2K, but I want to see something like that in this where certain players react different. Like for example, if I'm creating a player, there would be something that says player, I don't know, personality or something. You know, how likely he is to react to calls. Maybe even have I even here's another thing. Players getting thrown out of games for arguing with umpires. I know they don't like to have stuff like that in there. They think it affects the integrity of the game. Maybe MLB The Show, maybe MLB itself doesn't want San Diego Studios putting that in the game because they have to get through MLB before they can put things in it. Is what I think. I believe that's the case. I'm pretty sure there's something somewhere where they have to agree on it. Maybe they wouldn't let them do it, and if they don't, that's unfortunate because they know that that's a part of the game. And I'm not saying you should have players charging the mound. Don't get me wrong. I want that, but I know that's out of the question. That's absolutely way out of the question. Even Super Mega Baseball doesn't even have that. You know, and Super Mega Baseball has the, you know what I mean? They have guys getting mad, yelling at each other, and you know, things of that nature. But it's nothing too over the top. But it's definitely there, and that's only because MLB is not has no say in that game, so they have the freedom to do that type of stuff. But you know, obviously, you don't want players charging them out. But I do want to see players. I don't know if I want to say argumentative, but like to each other as far as players, maybe so. Like for example, and they do have a little bit of something where when a player almost gets hit by a pitch, he'll give the pitcher a look and walk to the base. I would like to see a little more to that. Maybe see some mouth movement, a little bit of something. Like I said, obviously you're not charging a mound and having guys hold guys back. They're not gonna let you put that in this. MLB itself, they're not going to allow San Diego Studios to add something like that. Even though they know it's in the game, they know it's part of it, they're not going to add that. But I want to see managers, I want to see a little bit of more argumentative based stuff. And I think this is out of the question too, but I really hope they consider putting something like that. Maybe not so much as players getting thrown out of games, but at least a little bit more. And players do get mad when they strike out and they yell at the umpire a little bit. They do have that. I do see players. There's an animation somewhere in this game. I wish I had one of the clips. I have a clip somewhere, but it'd be hard for me to find it. I literally have thousands of clips where the batter strikes out when he doesn't swing, and he kind of kneels down and kind of yells at the umpire. You can't hear him yelling, but you could tell he's arguing with the umpire, and then he walks away. That is good. That's pretty cool. But I want to see them go a little bit more in that direction, a little bit with players, you know what I mean? Maybe even managers, you know, and I know there's the classic manager in the umpire's face yelling. I know they're not going to put that. That's out of the question. MLB is not going to let San Diego Studios do that because they probably think it affects the integrity of the game or something like that. Another thing I want to see it with creative players and real players, I think it's time for them to do a little bit more to these players' builds. Now, let me show you here. Now, don't get me wrong, this is good. You can't really necessarily tell exactly what this guy's built like because just of how loose the shirt is. But don't get me wrong, they do a lot here. This to me is more like me just kind of wanting to see a little bit more. Because if you want a really big guy, you can have a big guy in this game. You know what I'm saying? If you want a little skinny guy, you can certainly have a little skinny guy. You just go to normal, and then you just like make this stuff. You know what I'm saying? you just make this stuff little. That's not hard to do. You know what I mean? So you could definitely make your little thin guys. They have enough variety in this game. I'm kind of nitpicking away with this one, but I do want to see like a little bit of a different body structure. Maybe their bodies look good enough. If they don't, it's not gonna bother me. I'm not gonna worry about it. But I do want to see maybe something added there. They did a good job with the facial details. One more thing I want to talk about with created players, okay? And they definitely added to the physical appearance of your created players. They've improved a lot. But it still isn't with EAFC, I want to see something more like that. With your created players, you know what I mean? And let me switch over to EAFC so I can show you exactly what I'm talking about real quick. So here's EAFC 25, okay? Now, MLB The Show has the thing with the head shapes and stuff like that where you select. These players, to me, look a little bit better than those. And then you can obviously morph the parts. Now, I don't care about the hair coming with it. You know what I mean? But just selecting the heads, to me, this is a little bit better than what you see with MLB The Show. Now, it's good. The MLB The Show one improved a lot this year versus last year's game. But I want to see MLB The Show 25 have something a little bit more like this. Obviously, it wouldn't be the same thing because this isn't even the same developer, but something a little bit more along the lines of this where the players just have a lot more characteristical details about themselves because created players, they kind of resemble each other. One thing I noticed, not nearly as much as they did because in MLB The Show, I'd say 21, your created players kind of look the same. You had to really spend a lot of time differentiating their faces to make them even look different. You was able to tell which players were created players. Now it's definitely a lot better for MLB The Show 24, but I want to see something a little bit better with created players with the facial details, maybe so that they don't even look like created players, and they don't. But they've did a really good job improving it, and I expect that they will improve it even more because every year MLB The Show improves their created players from the detailistic standpoint. Now we're back to MLB The Show. This is what they have. And as you can see, this is not as good as what you see, what I just showed you for EAFC 25. And, this is not bad. I mean, the problem with this, their face is all the same. They just have a different head shape, a different facial structure, but you know what I mean? This isn't as good as that. As you can see, I want to see them go a little bit further with this. Make it look a little bit better. Because if I'm being honest with you, this kind of looks more like last gen. It's kind of like they're not using the PS5, the next gen, ability as much as they should. Hopefully, I want to see them add to that. I do like the player likeness in this game. Like, most of the players look really like themselves, especially the major guys, like the Aaron Judge type guys, Ronald Acuna. Those guys look extremely accurate. It seems like the more relevant the player is, the more accurate they are. And that's generally what the games do for the most part, all of them, basically. Your top guys are going to look more like their real self. And then the lower ranked guys, there's going to be less detail. Maybe some of them don't even have face scans. I don't even know if they use face scans for this game. I know they do for other games, but yeah, that's another thing I want to see. Make this created player go a little bit further with this, and they go further every year. So I'm predicting that they will actually do that. I think they are going to add to this because each and every year since MLB The Show 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, they've taken, small steps to make your created player look a lot more or a little bit better, a little bit more realistic, a little bit more. But like I said, this to me is PlayStation 4ish. It doesn't even really give me that PlayStation 5 feel. I mean, I know they have a PS4 version of it, and I guess they want the two to be the same. But from a detailistic standpoint, the skin texture, all that stuff, it's just not there for me in this. And hopefully they step up a little bit in that area. Because the real players look like themselves pretty good, but I think the skin textures and hair textures, I think they should step up a little bit on that. Take some steps up a little bit, because the other games are kind of leaving them behind, to be honest with you. The graphics of the game are good, but the textures, I mean, the likeness, the graphics are not bad. The background looks nice. The fields, the audience looks awesome in this. But the player's skin and hair textures need to be increased at least a little bit. These, like I said, this looks like last gen to me. But like I said, those are the things that I mentioned here that I want to see in MLB The Show 25. Like I said, some of those things you have a higher chance of getting than others. Anyway, leave a comment. What's your opinion? Do you agree with what I'm saying? Do you disagree? Do you have your own ideas? List them in a comment. Let me know if there's something I missed.